Wolves Nation, I'm going to remind you that this is how we play. This is how we play all season long. We were the number 6 seed. We had a big trade this season. We were finding our chemistry, and we barely escaped the play-in. We've been up and down this entire season. A lot of people who haven't been watching the Wolves all season long, who just watch Anthony Edwards highlights, they're not going to understand what's going on. But we know what's going on. What happened during the Lakers series? Oh, well, when we lost that game, people here they go again. This is the typical Wolves. And what happened? We won that series. What happened with the Warriors when we lost that game? Well, this is the typical Timberwolves. They lost without Steph Curry. Here they go again. And what happened? We won, and the Warriors didn't win another game. And that's what's going to happen this series. What happened the first half? The first half of this game, the Wolves was stifling the Thunder. We were up 4 at halftime, and it looked like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander couldn't really score. The only reason why the Thunder were up was because they called 8 fouls against the Wolves in like the first few minutes. Rudy Gobert had to sit down in like the first minute or two. They took away our starting center. We would have had a bigger lead had they not been calling all those ticky-tack fouls for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, putting him on the free throw line. We shot, one free throw the entire first quarter? There were like 8 fouls called. And Anthony Edwards knows that he needs to shoot the ball more. He said in a post-game conference, I only took 13 shots. Yeah, you only took 13 shots. You were 5 for 13. Dante DiVincenzo should not be taking more shots than Anthony Edwards. And I love Dante DiVincenzo. I love everyone on our team. Dante is a scrapper. He put up 12 threes. DiVincenzo put up 12 threes. He only scored 9 points, but I love the fact that he was as aggressive as Anthony Edwards should have been. And what's going to drive everyone crazy about Ant-Man is he's young. And a lot of people, especially retired players who are doing commentary, a lot of sports commentators, he's going to drive them absolutely crazy. Because what's the biggest thing with young players? They think that opportunities are always going to come knocking. And that drives the older players and the older commentators crazy. They're going to be like, oh, well, Anthony Edwards, he doesn't want it. What's going on with him? He's young. And if you've watched him ever since 2020, since he's come in the league, this is, or any young player, unless you're like even Michael Jordan struggled early in his career. And I watched Michael Jordan actually play, not just YouTube videos. This is what happens. Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq didn't win his first finals. When Shaq was in Orlando, they got swept by the Rockets. Just got swept. And, you just rebound from there. The great players, they learn from these mistakes. Opportunities won't always be there. This is the one flaw that Anthony Edwards has. He has the entire package when it comes to his game. It's just that he's young, and it drives a lot of people crazy that he has these types of games where he wants to sit back and he wants to let his teammates shine. And there isn't nothing wrong with that, except when you got to know when it's time to turn it on. And young players, they have to learn this. No matter how talented they are, they have to learn. Look at LeBron James. Early in his career, he wasn't winning. He didn't win until he went to Miami and got hooked up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and Birdman and Mario Chalmers and so on and so on. Ray Allen joined the team. People want to crown Anthony Edwards immediately. They want to say, you are the face of the league. And I think he's the face of the league, but he's young. And that's not an excuse. That's what happened. Every elite player, every elite superstar, every elite legend who has ever been, it takes them time to grow and to understand their teammates, and that opportunities like this won't always be there. Okay? Going back to that first half, we shut down the Thunder. The Thunder didn't have an answer for what we were doing. Julius Randle, I got to give it up to him, because earlier in the season, I was like, look, Julius Randle got to go, because his mindset wasn't always there. That trade that happened with him, that messes with the play. Look what happened with Luka. You can't tell me that him being traded from Dallas didn't bother him throughout the season. It will bother a player. But Julius Randle showed up. Julius Randle did everything right to be a supporting cast for Anthony Edwards. It was just Anthony Edwards needed to go all out, and he didn't. And, there isn't no excuse for that. He just has to understand, you got to go from the opening tip. You got to go, because Shea is going to have the ball. Shea has the ball in his hands almost every play. He played 37 minutes, 31 points. Shea didn't hit it. He was 0 for 4 from three-point range, but he took 27 shots. 27. The next player on the Thunder who took close to that was Jalen Williams with 18. 27 shot attempts. He made 10. He was only 37%, but he was super aggressive. And that's what Anthony Edwards is going to have to learn to be from the jump. Excuse me. He's going to have to be super aggressive from opening tip. Naz Reid was 1 for 11. Naz Reid isn't going to shoot 1 for 11 in game 2. And 0 for 7 from three-point range? No. Naz Reid isn't going to be that bad. Alexander Walker, 3 for 11, 2 for 9 from three-point range. That's not always going to happen. And as I said, DiVincenzo, 3 for 14. DiVincenzo took more shots than anyone on the Wolves from the field. More than Julius Randle. But again, I can't blame him, because you got to do something. If Ant-Man isn't going to shoot, Chris Finch is probably telling everybody else, step up. Step up and you make a play. But we need Anthony Edwards to understand, and I think he does, because, again, I watched the post-game conference, and he was just like, look, I cannot take only 13 shots. So what's going to happen in game 2? He's going to rebound with a vengeance. I expect him to come out just swinging. I love that he went up for that poster dunk and he got fouled, but you got to put the defense on their heels. Rudy Gobert, once he's actually in the game, Chet Holmgren can't do anything with him. Julius Randle outplayed Hartenstein. We just need Anthony Edwards to step up and outplay Shea, because Shea is going to bring it. Like I said, even if he shoots terrible, he's got the ball in his hands every play. And he took 14. He had 14 free throws. He was 11 for 14. Shea from the line. Those free throws killed us especially in the beginning, because the first half we could have just been blowing out the Thunder to the point where they couldn't come back. But those free throws, those ticky-tack fouls, the refs were just like, I couldn't believe how many fouls they were giving the Thunder to keep them in the game. And then that second half, look, they just came out with a vengeance, and they took the game. But that first half is like, seeing blood, seeing red for like a bull. You know that you can do it. You did it for a half. You can shut them down. You can shut down the number 1 team for a half. That's a good sign. And how horrible we played. Yeah. Game 2 is going to be something special, and I can't wait. Like I said, I expect everybody going to be talking about Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves. Here they go again. But they don't understand that he's young, and you got to give him some time.